Far too often, LGBTQ plus business owners believe they have to choose between authenticity and being successful. Through these real-life stories, LGBTQ plus listeners aspiring for success can gain valuable insights to navigate their path to being both queer and successful. Hello, everyone. It is me, Hunter J. McNair, your hostess with the mostest, back again for this week's episode of Queer and Successful. Now, this week, I am joined by my good Judy, my good pal, Lauren Michener, and I'm actually really excited to be having this conversation with you this week, Lauren, because you and I have known each other now for, 3-4 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And I don't actually think I know you at this like deep personal level that we're going to kind of go into today. But before we get dived into more about you, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone?
Yes. Well, thank you for the honor. So I'm Lauren Michener. I'm based here in Denver, Colorado. That's where I'm from, actually. And from a real estate side, I cover Denver and Colorado Springs. I grew up here and left for school in Vegas, of all random places. And then met my wife, who's now my wife, there. We moved around a little bit, traveled quite a bit, and now I'm back here in Denver for the 5th year after being out of the country and fun things like that. I'm on my 7th year in real estate, which is amazing. I actually didn't start as an agent. I started as an operations person. I should back up. I started as an ISA, like a cold caller who did not know top to bottom, had no scripts, just kind of figuring it out from out of the country, and then moved forward into operations role. And then when I moved back to the States, I got into I was in leadership and then into full-time production as of last year. So that's pretty. I'm a mom also. I have a adorable almost 7-year-old daughter and expecting my second in 3 weeks. So hence the beautiful pregnancy face.
Are you excited?
Very excited, especially with my daughter because she's been really, really sweet and helpful. And she doesn't read books to me anymore. She reads books to the baby, and the baby gets extra hugs goodbye, not me. Well, I get one, but the baby gets 2. So it's really cute. Just like the sibling thing happening is already adorable.
And they're going to be, you said like 6 or 7, and you said she's
7 years apart.
Okay, so they'll be 7 years apart. See, my sister, fun fact, my sister is 6 years older than me. So that's a good like age category, age difference, believe it or not. I think people expect like siblings to be really close, like age wise, but I really enjoyed having an older sister, than not. So that's exciting. I'm so excited for y'all.
Yeah. And I actually am a middle child. And so my little brother is 7 years younger than me. So I have the same gap and then 4 years younger than my older sister.
Do we have a third in motion? Are we planning?
2 and done.
2 and done. I like it. Well, I want to obviously get to know you on a deeper level in this episode. And, of course, walk through everything that's made you who you are. And, I've known you, how long have we known each other? We said 4 years, I think.
4 now. That's what it is.
Is it 4? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something like that. And it's interesting because I have seen you just in the last 4 years kind of like come into the role that you're in now, and you're just rocking and rolling. So I want to crack that open and learn more about what made you you. So take me back to like little Lauren. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
I freak everyone out a little bit when I say this, but I am a horror movie junkie. I love horror movies. I'm like true crime person. And so growing up, I actually wanted to be something totally different. I wanted to be a forensic psychiatrist, which is basically what Clarice is in Silence of the Lambs. And so, as one does, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it was that or a special needs teacher. That's where I expected myself to be. Those very 2 different worlds. And then I realized if I wanted to go down the path like Clarice, I would 1, have to become a police officer, 2, have to go through medical school, then go through and get my psychiatrist license, then joined the FBI after all of that. And then I could start my career about 20 years later. And I'm not somebody who loves school. Like I was good at it on the things I liked. I'm also a late in life, I guess, ADHD diagnosed person. So that's been fun. So that like connects a lot of the dots from growing up and where that struggle was. But I knew I didn't want to do 20 years of school. And I also realized that I started working very young. My first job was as a janitor at my middle school. When I was 14, I had to get a worker's permit and everything, but I would, get the gum underneath desks and throw out the trash and sweep the floors, and it was super fun. But I started working when I was 14 and haven't stopped. And I also knew that being a teacher is unfortunately not a super, financially strong move, even though half my family are teachers. So I went into just different jobs, mostly customer service and sales forever. And I was also, funny enough, I know this is not a job question, but I was also an JROTC in high school. So little me was yelling at people and not yelling, but I was like commanding teams within ROTC and going to like win awards and competitions and stuff, which is so random in uniform. And yeah.
So you go from, we got to back up. So you are
PhD, I'm sorry, I told you.
No, it's great. We're on the same plane. We're on the same playing field here. So you are a kid and you're born and raised in Denver, Colorado. And you're watching horror films and you're just like, I want to be a forensic. That's literally like, it was all from horror stuff that you wanted to be a forensic. That's hilarious.
I was like that. Well, okay. And I guess the funny part of it too is like, I knew from a young age that there was a huge, there's a lot of information about like male serial killers. And then there's not a lot about women serial killers. And so from a very young age, I've been very much feminist, like wanting to know more about women's history, things like that. So it's like, I would want to specialize in the women because no one's doing it. Like there's nobody there doing that. I don't even think to this day there's many people doing it. Obviously there's different ratios. Men tend to be more serial killers than, women. But yeah, that's kind of where I wanted to go. Very random.
No, I mean,
now it's just like a fun hobby. I just watch scary movies and, that's all I need to do.
Well, I mean, and I think as kids, we all have like many different things that we want to be, but it's just one of those things that's like fascinating to hear, like what was inspiring to people, and then you said you wanted to be a teacher. And did you ever do like, what did you do with that? Like, so, I mean, like when you were graduating high school, you were like, okay, I have my passions. You touched on this briefly, but like, you just knew you wanted to do sales. Like, what did you think you wanted to do when you got out of high school?
I didn't really know. Still, I thought about going into film, and that's kind of where I started. So I did go to college for too many years. Again, not a fan of school. But basically, I started going down the route of like, okay, in college, started going the film route. Like I know marketing, I like sales, but I also really love film. And obviously like the horror movies, like all of that. So it kind of lended into that. And then I started going down the route of like being a set decorator. So like the person who does the collections and like the partnerships with different brands and like finds the weird obscure items that are in the background of movies and scenes and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, that could be fun. I could do that. It's which funny enough lends to I do staging and stuff now. So it's like very kind of like I get my passions through work.
Yeah.
And so I started going that way, but then I realized very quickly that if I had to turn that into a job, which at the time was like such a good passion of mine, it was exciting, it was fun, it also was going to burn me out. And I did not want to lose that like really amazing like love for movies and love for film just to make money. And so during the whole time, again, since like 15 and on, I went through different customer service jobs and sales, and I was just doing well. So I really didn't fully expect to know where I was going to go, but I was leaning into what can I learn from marketing? What can I learn from this and that? I was a women's studies. I double majored and double minored when I was going through school. So I was part of also having a lot of interest. Going to school for too long. But yeah, I think it was just kind of a matter of like trying to find my fit with the things that I was passionate about, but being very, very aware that I also didn't want to burn myself out. Like I want to be able to do my job and love it, but then still have hobbies and still enjoy it on the side.
Yeah, it's always fascinating when I ask people this question, because what I tend to find is like some of the aspects of the professions or the jobs that they like thought they wanted to do or that they liked ended up coming into play in some form or fashion with like what they're doing today, right? So like you liked horror films, so you're like, oh, I should be a forensics, but like really I just like film, or like, and then it's like, okay, I like film, but the reality is it's like, well, actually I just have this like, and you probably do have this great spatial visualization where you can see bigger concepts and kind of place them. And now that feeds into your business with staging and the, operation stuff that you ended up doing later. So it's always fascinating to hear what kind of the basis of where people come from look like. Now, for you growing up in Denver, did you actually grow up in Denver, or was it like, I say Raleigh, but it's not Raleigh, like it's like the country part?
Yeah, no, I was in
Okay.
Denver. Like I went to Denver public schools, like right in Denver. And if anyone watching is familiar with Denver, in like Wash Park.
Okay. Is that now growing up back then? I mean, I know Denver is known as being a really, liberal, accepting place. Has it always been like that?
So no, I mean, so Wash Park is a nicer neighborhood, middle higher end, I'd say, like demographic. However, very, I would say, not liberal. Wash Park is like walkable, and there's like, it's grown over time now. If you drive through Wash Park or in the surrounding neighborhood, you'll see a lot of, rainbow flags and everyone is welcome, kind of vibe. But it wasn't like that back then. Like, I still remember when I was very vocal with my bumper stickers as a teen, as one goes through that phase,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Some just play on words. Bush was president. W. Bush was
Mm-hmm.
president at the time. And so there were some different things that I had, like separation of church and hate sticker, for example. And so I still remember that some of my neighbors, they would go and they would key my car and scratch my bumper stickers so that you couldn't read them. And so, and again, just a liberal city, but it's kind of
Yeah.
taken time, to get there.
Well, and actually, ironically, we talked about this on the Successful Call briefly today with, saying that sometimes people assume that just because a place is liberal means that every single person is liberal
Yeah.
there and accepting, but sometimes it kind of brings out the people who are a little bit more crazy because they want to like, they feel a little bit more like trapped, in like a bubble of blue. And so they feel like they have to like take it out on other people whenever they can. So I totally get that. Now, you told me before that you came out actually at 18, but I always like to, for us as queer people, obviously we often come out twice, right? Once to ourselves and then to, well, actually we come out a lot, but we come out to ourselves first and then we come out to other people, right? So when did you first come out to yourself, you think? Like when did you realize you were a lesbian?
It took a really long time and it was kind of complicated. So growing up, so my older sister, she's also queer, and growing up, she identified as lesbian. She's pan now, or it's kind of transitioned to she's pan. But growing up, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by her and her friends, many of them who were in the queer community. I grew up going to Rainbow Alley, which is the youth center part. Like, it used to be in a basement off of Colfax, which if anybody, it's like, there's a lot of jokes about Colfax if you know anything about Colorado or Denver, but it was behind a Wendy's, behind a dinky old, like, crappy part of town. And so you had to go in the basement. And so I would go there, but it was a meeting space and there were drag shows and it was just like a meetup space. And it was really cool. So I got to be the younger sister tagging along to that, which was awesome. Brandon, who's another friend of mine here in Denver, he also was going when he was younger too. So it's kind of funny, like our small little world that we live in. But now it's just a part of the Denver LGBT Center. And then they still have that like after hours program. But anyway, one of the things I noticed very early, I've always been kind of like, I mean, I'm more glammed up now in general in real estate, but I've always been kind of a tomboy with jeans and chucks and like and t-shirts and like that's what I would wear. And had long straight hair. I was really lanky as a kid and I didn't look like anybody else there. Nobody else, not my sister. I love her and I make fun of her for it still, but she was, these goth kind of emo kid, very obviously like shaved bottom half of her hair, spiky pink hair, things like that. Like she was very identifiable at the time for what was trending as, you're within the community. And I wasn't. And so I knew nobody's like me. No one looks like me. I'm just weird. I'm just here. I'm just here because she's here kind of thing. But I knew that was the place I wanted to be. And I felt more comfortable to a certain extent. So I've always had that kind of struggle of, do I look gay enough to be in the gay community? And so I think, and I don't look like her. No one looks like me that's here. or in any of the spaces I am anywhere online, like, because obviously we didn't have a lot of stuff on TV, right, or internet. And so so I struggled a lot with just thinking like, there's no way I can come out, like, it's not real, something's broken, I just haven't met anyone I like, there's not a boy I like, so on, right? We all know the struggles.
Yeah.
And then finally, there was one of my good friends in my group, was a little bit older than me, who was a lesbian, and I had the biggest crush on her. And I knew also growing up, like, there were some good friends of mine, like some of my, closest friends, that I just got a little too jealous when they hung out with their boyfriend over me, and certain pieces just like fit together after, thinking about it and looking back and things like that. And so anyway, so back to this friend that was older, who was a lesbian. I made the first move. I hit on her, and then left and went to college, and we were dating long distance because I went to UNLV in Vegas for school. And then I decided Christmas break to just come out to everybody and say, you know what? I've been dating this person. I don't care. I'm going to come out. It was so awkward. It's always such an awkward conversation, I feel like. Mainly with family.
How long did that take though? Like, how long do you think it take from because you were like, okay, I'm figuring this out. I'm into women. I'm kind of more, it's more than just like, I don't look the same, as everyone else. And I'm actually figuring out that I'm into a woman, to like, it sounds like you started dating a woman. And at that point you're like, okay, I guess I got to come out to everybody. How long was that window of time? Like, how long were you keeping that a secret?
I would say like me dating her and that part of it, the ending part, was probably around 6 months, 9 months, somewhere around there. Like, I think I started, it was right before I moved. I moved in the summer, right after graduation, and then came home for Christmas. So I think it was about 9 months. And then me kind of knowing, but not making a move or not doing anything, was years. I mean, I remember like first having thoughts when I was in elementary school, with my best friend in elementary school. So like, it was a very long, drawn out, like more me forcing myself in denial than anything, or like forcing it away. And then telling everyone was, I started with certain layers of people, right? I started with my friends that were in college with me. And then I came back home for Christmas, and I told my closest friends, I guess they knew, like probably summer and on, when I kind of secretly was dating her. And then I even had a beard, who was my favorite gay tween in our friend group when I went to college at the beginning. So we had pictures together, and people just assumed he was my boyfriend. And I was like, sure, yeah. Which is so funny to look back on now.
Is it still called a beard if it's a guy?
If it's a guy, I don't know, but like, it fits.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. Maybe it's like
lavender marriage.
Yeah, whatever. Well, no, well, the point of the beard is that like it makes you look more masculine. So when a guy, so she's the beard, but I don't know what the other way would be. I gotta
in the reverse. Yeah, I don't know. I just always called him my beard, which is because I was way more masculine than he was ever.
That's hilarious. But, anyway, as one does.
Yeah, as one does. And
you come out to your family.
Came out to my family, and then came out to my like other friends that I hadn't told yet after that too. So telling my college friends, which again, I had a semester with them. It's not like I knew them for a long term, but lost everyone, my entire dorm, because I had to live in the dorms the first year. Everyone literally started shunning me. It was to the point where we would hang out every single night. We would do homework together. We would obviously party together, like all the things. And the only two people that stuck with me that were friends, one of them was a bi girl, so she kind of got it. And the other one, just really kind, nice guy. And everyone else was like, yeah, never talking to you again. We're going to look the opposite direction. We're going to pretend you don't exist. That was really hard.
Was that school in Vegas?
That was school in Vegas, yeah. And I mean, I was like, the only reason I moved to Vegas, my parents gave me one rule with school. They said, if you're not going to stay local, you can go out of state if you have family in that place. But otherwise you can't. We're not going to help you financially with some of it. And so, like, if you choose somewhere else. So, and, because I wanted me to, like, have support system and so on. So I did have cousins there, but, like, 15, 20 years older than me. Like, it was good to have them there, but I didn't know anyone. I didn't have friends. There was no one that went to school with me there. So it was hard. It was hard to lose all those people.
So it's like fascinating. Overnight. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating because you said that your family actually accepted you more than like your friends did in this new area. I guess, I mean, I would suppose like Vegas is technically more red, right? So they are a little bit more, probably getting a little bit more conservative in that area. But it's, how did you take that? Like, sometimes people go back in the closet when that kind of stuff happens. How did you overcome, you're in a new state, you're coming out to people, and then they all shun you all at once and you're still living with them basically. How did you overcome that?
Yeah. Putting one foot forward in front of the other, leaning on my girlfriend at the time, who ended up moving out to Vegas. But yeah, it was hard. I mean, I did look for an LGBT club at the school. There wasn't very many people, but I just decided, okay, screw you. Like, I'm not going to hide anymore. I've done the hardest thing, which is coming out, and I wasn't disowned, luckily. I know a lot of people who unfortunately have gone through that, and like, I am very lucky that my parents were accepting, even if they didn't get it, and even if they thought I was going through the phase and all the things, but they were supportive. And so I was like, fine, I don't need to go backwards because I want to look forward. Because I knew a lot of, and just to be totally vulnerable, like going through high school and struggling with coming out and like all the things and blaming it on other things, I was really depressed. There were times I'd sit, behind the stairs by myself eating lunch, and that's how I spent days, and that was horrible. And so coming out, like, I'm not going backwards no matter what.
Do you think that you have any type of, obviously, we have to come out, I guess you could say, we talked about this briefly, right? Like, you have to come out multiple times, even after the
Yeah.
first time you come out, because you meet new people and you have new experiences. Is it harder for you now, like when you meet new clients or meet new people, because, you have to kind of come out and you've had a negative experience? Like, how did you, like, because the thing is like that kind of stuff can traumatize you, right? It happened to me too, right? Do you still feel like that's a thing, or how do you suggest people not feel like that?
Yeah. I don't feel like that anymore. I did for, I think, a few years after, and plus I was young, I was still a teenager. So coming out the first, I'd say like 18 to 20, I did worry. Like, am I going to lose this person that I'm, knowing, and have to start over again, have to build a new friend group, have to do this, have to do that. But it really came down to, I don't even want to get in that place. So it became a conversation I'd have pretty early on, not something I'd hide. I never wanted to go back in the closet. I would say professionally, there was points in my career that when I started, I did have a little bit of, with an old person that, was kind of on my, like the owner of the team, made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. Like I couldn't be myself. Like I couldn't be all the way out. No, didn't. He was supportive. He never told me anything bad. He knew my wife and was never anything but pleasant, right? However, there were times that I felt like I needed to hide or be a little bit smaller and stuff like that. So I used language like my partner, right? It was more ambiguous and things like that. So I did that at the beginning, but then it got to a point, it's like, why? Why am I making you more comfortable so that I can feel worse and hide? No. So I am very loudly proud of my wife and our family. I can't say how, yes, it's a very hard way to get through, and to feel that, but also like I could never imagine going backwards because it just is so freeing. And so like, it's just something you shouldn't have to worry about,
Yeah. Well, and so you go through that experience in college, you kind of grow in those experiences of like, okay, like, maybe I should lead with this versus hiding it. And that way, your relationships are always going to be true to who wants to actually be around you, right? You
Absolutely.
you get out of college. What were you doing? What were you working? What was your first job out of college?
I guess my first like official job. What
Yeah.
was it?
It's like, it's like you get a degree. I'm supposing you got your degree.
I
I'll let you
didn't
get your degree.
actually.
Oh,
I
you
didn't.
didn't. So
No.
you dropped
And I
out.
said
Come on, drop
I was
out.
double, I know, double major, like I was hard. Like I was the person who was doing 18 credits a semester, and every summer I would do at least one or two classes. Like I was nonstop. Fast forward, that girlfriend that moved out to Vegas with me, it was not a healthy relationship, but I also didn't know any better at the time. We ended up we made plans to move back to Denver because she was really unhappy there. So I was like, okay, fine. You know what? Like I miss Denver too. I want to go back. So I set up to transfer everything over to come back and then finish my last year and a half. And when I set it all up, they're like, yes, perfect. You're going to be great. You'll be set up. And then when I showed up, they said, actually, we don't let you have like the lower credits double, like count for both majors. So if you want to keep your second major and keep your second minor, you're going to have to redo all these like prerequisites and like all the lower level stuff. I was like, well, first of all, I'm not doing that. And then it just kind of like put me backwards. And then what they promised would be all of my like major credits, they turned them into electives. And then I had like 10x the electives you need, but I didn't have the other stuff. And so I lost like 3 years worth of schooling basically, and not loving school. That wasn't, the greatest transition back. So I think I did like another year. Yeah, it really is. I mean, and then obviously the money too, because like my parents could help me a little bit, but like they were just starting to make money at that point. And so it was like they were at the cusp of, we make too much to help you, but actually that money we can't even use to help you. Like, so I had, student loans, all the things. And yeah, so I ended up doing, I think, another like year or so, and was just like, you know what, I'm just done. I need a break. Maybe I'll go back, but I need a break. And
so you kind of had to, you had to like abandon then like what you'd been working on for
years. Yeah. Yeah. And it was hard.
What did you start doing then? Yeah. And go
ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say, and to top it all off, my girlfriend and I broke up like a week before I moved back. But at that point, everything was in motion. I was like, well, I'm not going to, can't press the undo button like we can on our phones.
Yeah.
But I think
so you literally, no, sorry. I want to stay in that space because it's like you come out, sometimes it's like people say things and it's like, and you have to kind of like hear them and you're like, wait, like, so you came out at 18, but you moved to a different state, you came out, your friends were all jerks. You really like came out because of this girl. You basically make plans to move back because of this girl. You drop out of school. You have to, essentially, forced to. And you and the girlfriend break up. And now you're kind of like, I just got to be an adult now. Like what? Like what? I mean, yeah. And that leads me to like, what did you? So then you're like, so you did move back to Denver, and you started doing what?
And actually, timeline. I realized the girlfriend and I broke up like maybe a couple months. It wasn't a week. It feels like a week, but it was a couple months.
Yeah.
And then at the time, I was working for like a popular retailer and was able to transfer.
Name them. I'm just
Bath and Body Works. So all those little candles, no. Yes. I worked at Bath and Body Works for years and years, and then I transferred. I was able to transfer. I also was working 2 jobs at the time in Vegas and didn't keep the second one. But yeah, transferred and then worked my way up. Like I've always been somebody that no matter where I work, I've always started at the lowest of the low and then worked my way up into leadership. With Bath & Body Works, I think I was there for 6 years, ended up being a store manager when I left, and started as like a seasonal employee, like after college classes, and just worked my way up. So
now did you do Bath & Body Works all the way until you started real estate?
No, I left, wait for it, and went to the body shop. So
wait. Is that like another? That's a different.
It's another version.
Okay,
basically.
okay.
It's like the more like natural version.
So you went full lesbian.
Yes. It's like the original body butter. That's who created the body butter.
Got you.
Yeah. So and in between, I was always somebody who's like, I need to make more money, or I want to just like do more. Not especially when I wasn't in school. So I had like I'd have a second or a third job to like just do more. But those are my main ones. And then in the body shop, I got hired on as a store manager and then ended up like overseeing 2 stores when I left. I was there for about a year and a half. At that time, and right before, and the reason I fixed my timeline on leaving Vegas was because I actually met my wife, who I'm married to now, 3 weeks before I left there. And it was like going out, one of my going away nights with some of my friends that were there. Before I moved, it happened to be Pride Month. Vegas is very interesting. They do like a lot of different Pride stuff, but then it's all at night because it's so hot during the day. And I met Vicky, my wife, and we were together pretty much since we met each other. And yeah. And so then like I'm in Denver and stuff, but then she moved along with me like a year later. We did long distance for a while.
Oh, wow. You actually did the long distance thing for like a year.
Yeah. It's hard.
So you go through a breakup. You decide to get out of school. And then on your leaving, you find your wife of now, 16 years? 16 years together? That's wild. And you work at Bath & Body Works, then you go to the body shop, and then what happens? Like, okay, I want to figure out, like, what was the moment now? And we're talking about, you're building a life, you're doing this, working in retail. How did you get into real estate? What was the thing that happened there?
Yeah. So, I mean, we were in our early 20s. And so we did all these things. Like, I was a store manager of retail. She was a general manager of a restaurant. We were working our 50 plus hours a week, but young 20-year-olds. And we were able to save and live in a crappy little apartment for $800 a month, and then save up and buy a house. So we bought a house. And even after we bought the house, I didn't stop looking at houses. And I was just that obsessive person, like, let's see what came on the market today, as a young, silly 20-year-old. But knowing, like, hey, okay, maybe I should look into this field. I should go into this. Like, maybe this could be something. And basically, I decided, okay, yes, I want to go into real estate. But at the time, we had also hit these like certain milestones. And we're like, okay, we bought a house. We have these good jobs that are like good paying, right, for our ages. Like, at the time, I was making more money than some of my friends who had multiple degrees. So at least that was my kind of saving grace, right? For not graduating myself. And then we were like, okay, now what? We've done the things we were supposed to do. Like, we weren't ready to start a family. So like, now what? So we decided we were going to travel. We spent that year with 2 to 3 jobs. I mean, I was an Uber driver. I worked at Papyrus, seasonal employment, and I was a store manager running 2 stores, working overtime, like when I could. We were just saving like fanatics for a year. And we're like, we're going to go backpack for a year. We'll rent our house out. We'll go backpack for a year. And then I started my license classes to do real estate. And I realized, oh, okay, my license will go for 3 years. So maybe it doesn't make sense for me to backpack for a year of that. And I'll just take my test when I get back. And I'll be an agent when I get back. Right?
Okay.
So that's kind of like where I left it. I was in like school and I was like, wait a second. I didn't really think this part through. Right? And then we ended up going backpacking, and it was phenomenal. We went for a year and a couple months. We went all over Southeast Asia. My wife is also Eastern European, so we also were, in Eastern Europe. It was amazing, phenomenal. And I decided I wasn't ready to come back. So after a couple months of talking her into it, she decided she would stay in Europe and we could move and like be near her family, who I knew and like had fallen in love with. My wife also came here on her own at 18 with like $500 and like just built a life for herself. She has no family here. So we would go and visit her family. And then, so we decided to settle in Bulgaria for a little bit. And I was gone for about 5 years, 6 years, something like that.
You just lived in Europe for like 5 or 6 years?
Yeah, I was like, so we went backpacking for like a year and a half, a little under a year and a half. And then we ended up in Bulgaria for what turned out to be like 4 years.
Wild.
Yeah. So obviously I didn't become an agent right away, but funny enough, we decided, so once we like settled in Bulgaria for a little bit, we were like, okay, so we're ready to start a family. So let's go down that route. So we ended up going through everything. So I got pregnant with my daughter there and then started raising her there. And then we did come back to have her here in the States. It was just anybody who's dealt with that, it just is easier legally, paperwork wise. And so at the time, I reconnected with a friend of mine who I met. She was my trainer at the body shop. And when I came in as a new hire, and so she was a real estate agent. We had been friends, but we connected even more. And then at the time she was like part owner, like getting ownership of a team. And she's like, I know how you work. I would love for you to work with me. Can I figure out a role that you could work remotely? And so I started, like I said, as an ISA. My daughter was 3 months old. And I would work nights, basically, because I was working American hours, and I would do calls in the middle of the night, and I worked from Europe, and then just worked my way up through our team, again, from like the lowest kind of position that we had up through, and then I came back to the U.S. with a director of operations role. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a wild, it's a wild like
roller
turn of
coaster.
events. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're in Europe for 5 years. I think I knew that. Like, I think I remember you telling people that, but it escaped me that was a thing that you used to do but I guess I didn't realize to what extent. And you were able to live there, like, and you were making money, but still working in the States because you were working an ISA job, I guess.
Yeah. So I was working as like an American employee. So I get paid American dollars, which is nice, and could live there, and it was great. And we would spend 1 weekend a month at minimum traveling all over Europe. And our daughter went to 10 countries by 10 months old, which we were so proud of. Like, just being able to like have a really different lifestyle. Not to say it wasn't, it wasn't all great and easy. We had issues with visas and residency, and every year I'd have to reapply. And I'd spent 4 to 6 months every year just to reapply, because Bulgaria is not a country that recognizes same-sex couples. So, that made things hard. But we have a court case to even get our daughter, still at almost 7, her own rights to have citizenship there, which she still doesn't have. And
I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what was the turning point where you were like, okay, I gotta get out of Bulgaria, other than obviously them not accepting your marriage?
Yeah. It really was taking a toll, having to deal with like the fear of them just deciding not to, approve myself. And then it became my daughter as well, because she was only seen as an American citizen. She wasn't recognized as my wife's daughter there. And so it became just so anxiety ridden, because, I'm spending 6 months trying to get my application redone. And then they could tell me, nope, you're denied and you have to leave within a couple weeks. So that mixed with, I got the opportunity with my team to get the promotion to director of operations, but I would need to be local to make that work. And so it was just kind of like, okay, now's the time.
You come back to the States, you're getting an operational role, and then you're moving into now sales. Now, what's fascinating for you, Lauren, is like you actually said that success for you is defining success as like feeling comfortable in your own skin, which we kind of, we talked about that a lot today, but also supporting your family and building the life that you dream of. And I always find it fascinating with those like operational roles, because like the supportive aspect of that is so, it's so big, right? But then when you move into what you've moved into with sales, you go from like supporting a team to now like supporting people and their dreams and helping them feel like more comfortable in their skin. What do you think is like your favorite part? Like what's your favorite part now about sales, since you kind of moved out of that operations role?
Yeah. I mean, because I've been doing sales and it does come really naturally to me, it's just fun. Like the sales part. No, I'm very lucky that in my role throughout the whole team and the company and everything, I guess my real estate experience in general is, there was many years where I was also the like concierge transaction coordinator. So I was the one who was helping a client from when they're under contract all the way to closing without negotiations, but everything else. And we're very hands-on. So like I was already doing what agents are doing for years, but I also just didn't see the financial win from it either. I was on a cute little salary, and things like that. And, I cared about getting a review, like 5-star, but like, I didn't get bonuses. Like, it wasn't like that, right? It wasn't tied to that. And so, you get to a certain point where you're like, okay, like I actually want this. Like I had said when I came, like I was going to come back to the States and be an agent. And like, here I am many years later. And so I was like, it's time, like, I'm just going to do it. And I was a little nervous. And so even my team owner, like, she is phenomenal. Like, I could not be surrounded by better people and a better leader, but she knew that that's what I wanted to do. And she helped me, and we created a new role for me where it was kind of like I was half in operations and half in production, which kind of helped me get the fear out and also get used to commission a little bit easier too. So I'm very thankful for that. And even while doing that, the first half of last year, I was beating out all the full-time agents on my team with volume, sales volume, GCI, and doing my full-time role. And so I was like, okay, I can do this. Like, I know what I'm doing. Like, I love talking to people. I love helping them and walking them through these things and being their advocate. And so, yeah, that's what kind of made me officially make the move and like get out of it completely.
There's so much I appreciate about that, because, well, first of all, Justin, my husband, is our operations/transaction coordinator. So he's more, once they're under contract, right? He's handling the client care. I mean, he likes to call himself the client care. He likes to call himself the client care coordinator versus like transaction coordinator, because for him, it's just like, it's the client care, right? That's like the aspect of it. And so what I find kind of really cool about all of that is that you knew you had a passion for helping people, but you also knew that you wanted to be competent in it, right? Like you wanted to be really good at your job and like work your way up in a natural way that like taught you. Like you had that transition period between operations and sales. And now like you're instantly beating people out because, all these entrepreneurs, they come in and they think, you have to do is have passion. where you came into it and you're like, no, I'm going to actually come into it, like learn it, like actually really have the passion, but also take the time, learn it, come into the role and be 10 times better at it than everyone else because of it. So I think that's a really admirable thing. And I literally just had shared recently, I think that, too often people follow their passions and not their competency, right? Like
I
you
remember
took
when
the
you said that.
time. Yeah. And I think the reason that people in the entrepreneurial space get more, weary of that concept is because you can also get stuck in it, right? Like you can be planning to plan, right? So there is like you got to like push people a little bit sometimes to get out of that. But if you can balance that, that's when you win. And that's what you've been able to do. So that's really cool. What are your goals for the new year? Like we're now in 2026. What are you hoping to achieve this year?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this year because even with, 9 months of still being in my leadership role for last year, I was able to help 21 families. Have a goal this year to help 25 more families. And that's with me taking around 2 months off so that I can be spending time with my newborn, and my family. And so I think it's, one, continuing to make a huge difference in like the clients' lives that I have. And I'm very lucky that, I've got the trust a lot of my clients are coming from within the community, and they're my sphere and things like that. They trust me. They know I'm leaving this to go meet with a family friend. So I'm going to help her buy her first home here in a few minutes. And those are the things I want to continue to do in this year. And also just keep making my family a priority, because that's really where, like, why I'm doing any of this, why I'm very passionate. I love my job and I love what I do. And I love being an advocate for people. But at the same time, it's so that I can go home and celebrate my family and, my soon to be 2 daughters, and be able to just make their life better. So
yeah, you've got an amazing year ahead of you. You've got a new daughter on the way, and you're growing up, Lauren.
I'm being a big
You're
grown
living
up.
the dream. You're living the dream. I asked you before this started as well, just to kind of wrap things up, like the one message that you wanted listeners to kind of get from hearing our conversation. And you said you can choose the path and the chances you take. Happiness and acceptance and success are there if you want it. And I think, just hearing kind of how you've come through so many different choices in life that could have taken you in completely different directions. I think you've always had a really clear idea of what you want, and happiness and acceptance are there for you. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks for the
Yeah,
time today.
of course. Of course. And if you enjoyed this episode of Queer and Successful, of course, we have these episodes coming out every Wednesday. If you are not participating in our weekly calls on on successfulcall.com. We do weekly masterminds every week at Monday at 11 a.m. Lauren, you don't know yet, but I'm going to be asking you to lead one in a couple weeks because I'll be out of town. So congratulations. But with that, everyone, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next time. Bye.